Welcome to Latino Capitalist. I'm your host, Tony Delgado.
And I'm your co-host, Gabby Wall Street, known as the founder of Latino Wall Street. And I'm going to start with a fun fact. It's the first time we're doing a podcast episode together. And Tony's actually the brain behind Latino Wall Street. He came up with the name. He's always the one that's behind the scenes in everything we do.
I joke, I say I'm the Puff Daddy, the Diddy of the influencer world. But now that Diddy's in all that trouble, I think I got to change my tagline.
So basically, just to introduce ourselves for the ones that is like their first time listening to an episode, with the two of us, we created Latino Wall Street together. I had an idea. I was just Gabby Wall Street, and I wanted to create something bigger. And that's when I actually hired Tony. I paid him.
She loves to tell this story.
No, I literally paid him because he's a software developer, has all these skills that most people don't have, and he's known for, making brands explode and making businesses make like millions of dollars. So I was like, I need someone, first of all, in the technology part, because I'm actually not very good at technology, so I needed someone exactly like him. I heard him in an interview, actually. I think it was
Power 105.
Power 105 in New York, and I was like, oh my God, I need this guy. I had met him in a seminar, hired him, and then the rest is history, right? So what's your take on that? Or
It's not the story. It's a complete lie. It's a completely false story. So she keeps saying that she hired me, but meanwhile we kept going out on dates. So I thought they were dates, and it turns out that they were just business meetings.
No, they were business meetings, but then he'll say, 7 p.m. Anyways, the whole point is that for the ones who don't know, we run Latino Wall Street. I am the face, so you will see me leading seminars, events, basically our programs, educating and empowering the Latino community about how to invest. We do it in Spanish, right? We're also doing some stuff in English now, financial products, like more like one-on-one stuff. But he's the one who actually, created the movement. So I wanted to give you credit for that and let people know that's what happened, and anything else you want to share so people can get to know you better if they're new here.
Yeah, so when we started Latino Wall Street, it was right after Hurricane Maria. And so when we met, I was living in New York, but I was back and forth between New York and Puerto Rico, if you remember. Mm-hmm. So when Hurricane Maria struck the island of Puerto Rico, I found a problem that was bigger than myself. And I saw that the biggest problem between the people that got really badly affected and the people that were able to wipe it off, right, were the people with no money and no resources are the ones that got hit the worst, right? And the people that had enough money to rebuild, right? Either you had JetBlue money or you had FU money, right? Either you could get on a plane and at least come to Florida and get some refuge from the hurricane that happened there in 2017. Or you had enough money that, hey, I could buy a backup generator. I can pay to fix my house, right? These problems don't affect me as much. And it was really the people with no money and no resources that got hit the worst. So when that natural disaster happened, I went down to Puerto Rico with a bunch of crazy entrepreneurs, and we did humanitarian work. We went door to door, city to city, knocking on people's doors, giving them cases of water and solar panel lights so that they can at least charge their phone and get access to the internet and let their friends and family members and loved ones know that they were okay. And it was through that exercise that I was able to identify one of the biggest problems in the Latino community, and it's income inequality, right? And what I realized, I was actually visiting a small province in Puerto Rico. These guys probably weren't doing good financially even before the hurricane. And 6 months have gone by, right? All the major cities had restored their power and electricity, but the smaller cities had not. And we're visiting this family and we're giving them cases of water and these solar panel lights. And I go and I do an Instagram live from the top of the mountain. And I realized right there, I was like, oh my God, I still have access to the internet. I still have access to make money, right? Because I make money online. I've been making money online for decades. And I'm still able to do business, do commerce. And my life really hasn't changed, even though there's no electricity up here. And the people that were on top of the mountain, they had access to the same internet connection. They just didn't know how to use it the same way I knew how to use my internet connection. So I knew that Wi-Fi and a dream was all that people needed to succeed. And I knew that access to the internet had democratized education, has democratized the way that people think. But then if you look at it, imagine if Tony Robbins or Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio or whoever the people are that you look up to and whoever your mentors are, imagine if they spoke Chinese and they didn't speak English. Well, that's the reality for 90% of the Latino community that are not bilingual, right? Mm-hmm. There's all these great speakers, all these great entrepreneurs, all these great influencers who are out there putting out this content and educating and putting stuff out on the internet for free. But in the Latin community, there's definitely a void. There's a gap of access to educational information.
And things get lost in translation, right? So that's how we came up with Latino Wall Street, to like educate and empower the Latino community in Spanish. So the reason why this works so well is because you are a genius in online business, right?
I'm a genius in everything.
But online business, that's like your specialty, what you're known for. You know, you've been behind like very huge brands and, you know, scaling businesses. You did it with Latino Wall Street as well. So his expertise in business, specifically online business, because he's a software developer, right? And my expertise in investments and finance, those two together were what enable us to basically, you know,
come together and be unstoppable, right?
You know, create everything we have created.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about us. Now,
well, real quick, let's talk before we go to Latino capitalism. Let's talk about Latino Wall Street and the background behind it. So the name, we took inspiration from Black Wall Street. Yeah. So Black Wall Street was this movement in the 1920s in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where African Americans came together and they built this community where they could thrive. So it wasn't only about finance, but it was also about business and entrepreneurship. And it was basically African Americans doing business together, thriving. It was an amazing time in the history of African Americans. Unfortunately, it had a bad ending. There were like riots and the city was burnt down actually over 100 years ago. But we took inspiration from that. We were like, what if Latinos do the same thing? What if Latinos come together? We build wealth, we build abundance, we build prosperity, and we do that from not only learning from each other, but doing business with each other.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Black Wall Street was that it was not limited to just finance or the stock market. The name was Black Wall Street, but it will encompass a lot more, and it was about thriving in business, right? Like doing business together. So that's basically, you know, the things that we do together. So now going to Latino Capitalist, this is an intro episode, right? So what are we gonna talk about? We wanna do a little session on Capitalism 101, because as Latinos, we know the importance of being a stand against socialism and communism that has destroyed many of our home countries. And I think the ones who are listening and are from Cuba, Venezuela know exactly what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, you would think, oh, it's 2024, that's long gone. Well, actually, not really, right? So let's start going over some of the subjects we're gonna be touching on and creating the context for Latino capitalism.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, most first-generation Latinos, they know exactly why they moved to this country, right? They come trying to escape socialism, trying to escape communism, dictatorships, and countries that are going through really bad geopolitical and economic times, right? And the trend that we've seen is while first-generation Latinos are very pro-freedom, very, very pro-capitalist, when it comes to second and third generation Latinos, now there's a trend of them becoming more socialist, right? Mm-hmm. And I always say that it's very easy, it's much easier to become a socialist when you're living in a capitalist utopia, right? When you're living in a college campus where all the food is provided for and all the cleaning and the electricity and everything's provided for and paid for, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, it'd be great if this just never ended, right? I remember thinking that in college myself. I lived on this huge campus, acres and acres of land, and I was like, how many staff members does it need to do we need to maintain this? And it was only a few. And I was like, wow. So we're basically being waited on hand and foot. It's almost like you're in a resort where all your food, all your meals, all the cleaning, all these things are getting being provided for you. And again, what ends up happening is second and third generation Latinos are ending up getting brainwashed and getting influenced by the socialist narratives that are creeping into the university system.
Yes, exactly. So that's one of the main issues. And then what other subjects are we going to be going over in this?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about money. We're gonna talk about finance. We're gonna talk about politics, and we're gonna talk about business, and all through the lens of
A Latino capitalist.
a Latino capitalist, because we believe that capitalism is the system that has transformed more people out of poverty, that has created more wealth, more abundance for more families than any other system in the entire world.
Yes, and you want to demystify this negative connotation, right, that some people have about capitalism. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of people out there who are struggling, and then when you listen to what they're saying, they think capitalism's bad, money's bad. If you're a capitalist, you're a bad person. You're somehow exploiting, abusing people. And from our experience, I'm not going to speak for every single person in the world, but from our experience, right, we have empowered so many people to make money and change their lives, right? Starting with the people that, have worked for us, that currently work for us, the members of our community, through financial education, right, through bringing awareness about everything that has made us successful, right, sharing all the strategies, all the stuff, given opportunities, right, whether that's a job or whether that's being in our programs or events or in our classes. So we know firsthand the lives we have transformed, right, the stories that people have shared about everything they've been able to do and create because of the opportunities we've been given. And the reality is the only reason why we've been able to do that and to cause massive transformation in other people's lives, not just financially speaking, because with a lot of money comes a lot of empowerment and breakthroughs and freedom and all that stuff, right? It was only because someone did that for us, right? Someone gave us that opportunity to learn. Someone hired us at some point, right? So this system, if you go back to like the root cause, when you see someone changing a lot of lives and having a big impact, and in the context of capitalism, you just have to trace back to where it started, and that person was also given an opportunity. So then with that opportunity, then you can create more opportunities and so on and so forth. So let's just share a little bit of how it started for us. The best opportunity I was given was honestly my education. I was blessed with having some of the best education out there in this world. It started in a British school back home, where I studied with the president's daughter in my classroom, and I was very privileged in my country. It's a very poor country. Peru is the third world, but I had that opportunity, right? Then from that school, I was able to get a scholarship to NYU, moved to Manhattan when I was a teenager because of the opportunity I was given. So that was my breakthrough, going to school in Manhattan, not so much because of what they taught me in the university, but because of the location. Proximity is key, the networking, the contacts I was able to make, how I was able to learn about from Wall Street firsthand, and all the opportunities that came along with that, right? So that was my experience, and what I always share with people is that it's not necessary for you to spend 6 figures the way I did in my traditional education. It's not necessary, because I actually learned more when I went outside of my traditional schools, right? And I learned from the mentors who had accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. So like my college professors were fine, but they weren't where I wanted to be. I had a dream to be financially free, to have all these properties, to travel around the world, first class. I had all these dreams. And my teachers didn't have that. So I went to the people who had that, and I learned from them. And that was my breakthrough. So education in general, I think it's good. But if you make me choose between traditional one and paying a fortune the way I did and choosing disruptive education as in financial, I'm gonna pick that because that was actually what changed my life. I'm not undermining the opportunities I had. I'm not undermining that I actually was able to learn a lot and was privileged enough to be in those specific schools, but it was nothing compared to what I accomplished outside of those schools. So that's my capitalist story.
Yeah, so me, I'm a college dropout like Kanye West. So I went to school for a semester, but it didn't work out. And I immediately became an entrepreneur, really out of necessity, right? When I was growing up, the word entrepreneur wasn't really a thing. Like, it wasn't cool. There wasn't Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and all these people telling you to rah, rah, go, start a lemonade stand. But I knew that my teachers were only making $30,000 or $40,000 a year at that time. And I knew from my own experimentation with selling things online that I could make $30,000 or $40,000 in a month or more, right? And I kind of had a breakthrough my first semester in college. I got kicked out because I brought a friend on campus who was from the inner city. He was a crazy guy. And so we went to this frat party. He starts drinking. He gets into a fight. And then they ask, well, where'd this guy come from? Oh, well, he's Anthony's friend. Okay. So I ended up getting expelled for bringing one of my crazy friends on campus. But it let me have a breakthrough in creating my own business. And so at that point in time, I was actually scared to tell my mom that I got kicked out of college. So I moved in with a friend. I started renting a room, and I started my first online business, just selling stuff on the internet. And then, like I said, I went from making a few hundred online to a few thousand online to then doing six figures.
You were a kid.
And yeah, and I was a kid. And so when I look at myself, I'm making more money than my teachers make in a year and a month.
Wow.
It didn't really make sense to try to go back to school and try to pursue any type of traditional career. Fast forward, I did get to a point in my education where I felt stuck, right? I had done all the self-education. I'd watched all the free stuff on YouTube, and I felt like I was hitting ceilings, right? So one of the biggest investments that I made early on was I went to a conference. There was a conference in California. It was $1,000 for a ticket. It was a 3-day conference. I had never been to Silicon Valley, right? And it wasn't only the conference ticket, it's also all the expenses and everything involved. But I knew that there was another level, right? I knew that there was something else that I was missing. And again, entrepreneurship was not as popular as it is now. When I went to California, it was kind of like the mecca of Silicon Valley. It was like the mecca of technology. You had all these big companies and all these startups that are raising money, raising funding, Microsoft, Amazon, all these huge companies. And on stage, people are raising money, right? People are coming, hey, I just raised 10 million for my company. I just raised 5 million for my company. And at that very conference, the founder of Twitch, his name is Justin, he had just sold his company to Amazon for $1 billion. So he's just sold it last week. He's on stage. He's giving advice to everyone in the audience. And he points at everybody and he says, hey, you guys, when you go back to wherever you're from, I want you to go out there and make more money and ask for more money and demand more money, because there are more people in the world that want to make things than people that know how to actually make them. And you guys actually know how to make them.
Right.
It was a web developer conference.
Right.
And
so true. Everyone has an idea, but who can actually execute and make it happen? It's like with me, I came with an idea, but I needed someone like you to help me actually implement it and materialize.
Yeah. And so that was a really great investment in my self-education. That was a few $1,000s. And then maybe a year or two later, I attended a $10,000 alternative education program to really, really learn software development. And that was through Rutgers, but it was actually a third-party company that came onto these college campuses all around the country. They ended up selling that company for close to $1 billion as well. And I'm friends with the founders to this day. And that was a $10,000 investment in myself for a 6-month program. And it was like weekends, like part-time, 3 days a week. And I remember when that happened, I went to all my friends and I said, hey guys, Saturday night when we're going out to the nightclub and we're doing all these things, I had a lot of friends that were in the DJ and entertainment space in New York City. And I was like, hey, Friday, Saturday night, I'm not going out because I just paid $10,000 for this program. I'm going to make sure I get the most out of it, right?
When you pay attention, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's important.
And then since then, I've done a bunch of seminars and workshops.
We met in a seminar.
Yeah, we met in a seminar.
So we're very much pro-education. Just education in general is always going to move you forward, but we do believe that what's missing right now in the system, it's financial education. That's key. So we'll be talking about all these types of subjects. This was an intro episode, so you have an idea about who we are, a little bit more about us, and basically, yeah, I don't know, anything you want to add before we go?
Don't be a commie. No, we're going to be doing a lot of exciting stuff. We're going to be also interviewing really interesting people.
Yes.
So definitely subscribe. And then go to LatinoCapitalist.com. Make sure that you join the newsletter so that you get notified every single time we drop a new episode.
Yes, and the most important issues also in this election year, and we'll be focusing on a lot of that too, the economy, immigration, all the relevant subjects that we all care about, but especially us as Latino capitalists. So stay tuned.